أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين. Today is 15 December 2020. We continue our topic of perfect human, number 10, which has included the 5 sessions of universes. I want to first, also I'd like to see you can see a little bit, but that's fine. No, a little bit. Okay. What I want to first ask if anyone knows what is our slogan of our IAKF. Say it from the beginning. No, that's long ago. This time that we started, we created a new slogan. Worship smarter. Yeah. Don't you remember, Nasser? Yeah, we have said it. Not every time. We said worship smarter, not harder. And what was the smarter way? To learn, right? So why I raised it, I just want this to be reminded. We have to remind this to ourselves because as I see and I gather, sometimes some of us we do not find it easy to go to the class or even to listen, even coming online, and so this is in a smarter way. See, I'm sure if you're asked if it's one of those Ahya nights, let's say Shab Qadr, and you're asked to do 100 rakat salat for the night, how many of you guys do it? You do it, huh? Every night, every year, right?
No, I don't do it. But
no, I'm saying you might have done it. But which one is more difficult? My point is, which one is more difficult? To do that 100 rakat salat, or let me see, to do that 100 rakat salat, or 1 hour of ma'arif? Which one is easier? 1 hour of ma'arif. But the point I want to make is, no, the 1 hour of ma'arif is not easier. It's more difficult on people. It should not be more difficult. But I find it more difficult. Reason being, I want to quote something from Mullah Sadra. Mullah Sadra, you all might know, right? He was one of the greatest philosophers of this time, and still his topics are being studied in Jose and outside Jose, not maybe so much in Jose, because Jose is not too much into philosophy. And he lived about 500 years ago. Mullah Sadra says, making the mind practicing or wanting to learn, just learn, it's like a muscle. You have to develop that muscle. If that muscle is not developed, so we find it boring, we find it difficult, we find it, okay, we might even attend. We might, for the beginning, for few probably months, we have to push ourselves to come, right? And I was telling before you come, I was telling to Masume, I really, really try not to get into many details. I skip all the details because I would think if you hear more details, you might just not only don't come, tell me, please, Amu, don't come to our house anymore. And Yani, I want to say it will be it's more boring. But the point here is it's not supposed to be exciting. These things are not supposed to be exciting when you're learning it. But once things are discovered, once we are learning few bits and pieces and put things together, then that's going to make sense. Then that is going to make our worldview, and that is when we find it more exciting. When we discover, when we read Quran or we hear a hadith, then that is the time when you find what we learned is not only making sense to our mind, it's making us. It gives a sort of ecstasy. Believe me, nowadays I'm studying. Nowadays means in the last couple of months or few months, I'm studying some hadith into and it's more about galactic. I call it a galactic hadith. It's to do with space and what is happening in the space and things like that. And when I put those aside by quantum and physics that I'm a little bit of learned or listen or watch, I find it amazing. My God, how did they know all of this at that time? But when we read it, it doesn't make unless you put the new science into it, it doesn't make sense. And that's why a lot of people would have rejected those ahadith. So what I want to say anyway, that is, don't expect to be exciting what you hear. and don't expect that you would be really wanting by that you want to go every week. Some of you do, I know. I'm just saying for some people that might. And I tell you, I am, for me myself, after so many years, sometimes it happens with every. I mean, sometimes you want to do your salad, you don't feel like a very happily salad, an exciting salad, and more often, I mean, we probably find it even we have to push ourselves. So when it comes to something that we have not developed the muscle for, then it requires more persistence so that it develops. The other thing about it is, at the end of the day, the whole issue, the whole reason why that we are learning this, these are not for fancy stuff. These are because we are learning this because we want to go from here, we want to go to another world, which these things matter. It may not look, it's important now, because what importance does it have for me today? I'm doing my salad, I'm doing my fasting, and I'm doing good things. I donate, I do charity, I go to Hosseiniya, I work, I help other people, all good, definitely. But what about the word that we are going to? What do we know about that word? That's where it comes the important. Anyway, so I do a quick recap from the last week. Uh, Last week I spoke about a little bit about uh, Asmaullah, the names of Allah, and I said Asmaullah is when you consider the Zat of Allah with a specific attribute. When you say Alim is one of Asmaullah, right? That is the attribute of ilm with the Zat together. That is when it's when that is comes to reality. Or generosity. You call Allah Karim. That Karam, the sifat or attribute of Karam, when considered in the Zat of Allah, that's Karim. And I gave example. I want to give an example because um, uh, don't get bored if you have heard it. That doesn't matter. Let it be repeated, uh, because some of you have not been here, and I also didn't upload the recording. Anyway, uh, if you want to understand what is that exactly, what does that mean, refer to yourself, to your own self. When I want to call Nasir, when I call Nasir, Nasir is Isme Jam'i, right? Is a inclusive name for Nasir. When the moment you hear about Nasir, probably all his attributes that you know of comes to mind, correct? So that is Nastajiru billah. It's only for the sake of comparison that you understand. That is equivalent of you say Allah. When we say Allah, Allah is the all-inclusive name of God, in which all the other attributes exist. But when you call Ar-Rahman, that's Zat of Allah with his sifat of Rahmaniyya. When you say Ar-Rahim, that's Zat of Allah with the sifat of Rahimiyya. Or you call him Karim, is his Karam, Zat of Allah with Karam. So in you yourself, I gave an example of last time, and I used Zoleikha as an example so that she doesn't take it very serious. This time I use someone else. I'll say, because they have bought a house, so congratulations. I said to use Ali, for instance, okay? Ali has got, see, this is about how creation comes out from Asmaullah. That's what I want to explain. Ali has got an attribute of, what do I say, programming, okay? Ali knows how to program computer. That's an attribute by itself, correct? But that attribute is in Ali, it's not in outside world. It's only an attribute. An attribute is an attribute. It's only in you. It's a capability. It's a skill. It's an ability. But that attribute calls, when I say call, yani, it wants to be manifested. When we say, Allah says in that hadith sequence, I wanted to be known, right? You remember that hadith sequence? I love to be known. That's the attributes is wanting to be known. Because Allah by Zat is not, no one is able to know Allah by Zat, even Masumin. So is Allah is to be known by sifat, by his attribute. So that sifat wants to come out. That ability of programming of Ali wants to come out and to be known. It wants to be known. He himself even loves to know. If so, what happens? Ali makes a program. I don't know, a program that whenever someone comes to open the door, a computer opens up and it reboots or boots up, and then things starts. That's a program, let's say, which exists on every computer. So that attribute has been manifested in outside world. That is how it comes to outside world. Or let's give an example of Masalan, Masume is a good cook, right? That's good cooking is an ability. And that good cooking wants a manifestation outside. She wants to be known. She wants that everyone see what she can cook. So she makes some food and she distributes the food outside. And that's how that food has come outside. And then it is appreciated. It is people when they eat that food, that food, the very food outside that is in material world, is manifestation of her cooking ability, right? So that is how Asmaullah in outside world, they are being manifested. So everything we see in outside world is manifestation of Asmaullah, correct? Salawat, please. So now every Asmaullah has got a name in the knowledge of Allah. Masalan, when we say the name of Jabad, that also has got a meaning inside the ilm of Allah. It is an attribute. Remember, attributes are working as well. They're functional. Attributes are not just a name. Don't think it's just a name. The whole world is being governed by all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's like all Ali's attributes, if he doesn't use his attributes, right? All the things that he knows, he doesn't do anything, right? He will be just benign and sitting there. He has to bring all those attributes outside so that he can create or run his life or whatever he does. So all those attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are governing the whole creation of Allah. And every attribute or every sifat has got also it is called form, intellectual form in the Zat of Allah. Yani everything is in the knowledge of Allah. Even the attributes they are also in a form of knowledge, in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So we remember we discussed, we say everything which has come out into creation has been in the knowledge of God, right? There is nothing. We said, you remember Shay'ullah, Shay and Law min Shay? Remember these? So Law min Shay, we said the whole creation is created not from anything, correct? Yani there is not possible anything to be created from nothing, right? It's not possible. Adam is nothingness. So now who can tell me? So what is this verse of Joshan Kabir? وَخَلَقَ الْأَشْيَاءَ مِنَ الْأَدَمِ means created things from nothing. What does that mean then? Is that verse of Joshan Kabir wrong, or what we are saying is wrong? Any answer?
I think you explained it. It's relative, Adam.
Good, Ahsan. Remember very well, right? So remember, there is not absolute Adam. Absolute Adam doesn't exist. There is relative Adam. Relative Adam means what? Means whatever is in the knowledge of Allah is in relative Adam. For Allah is not Adam. It's because we are seeing everything is from the perspective of us in outside world, in outside of God, let's say, right? But when you consider things inside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no Adam. Everything is mawjood with him. So whatever is in the knowledge of Allah and has not come to outside world is in ma'adum, is in a state of non-existence. So when we say we read خَلَقَ الْأَشْيَاءَ مِنَ الْأَدَمِ, meaning it means خَلَقَ الْأَشْيَاء, created things from his knowledge. not from Adam in absolute term. Ali, you made me very hopeful. Alhamdulillah, someone remembers something that I've said a few years ago.
So sorry, can I ask a question?
If you don't want to divert me, please keep the question to yourself. I appreciate it. If it's related to this and quickly we can say it, say it.
It's a quick one. So,
Tell me.
So, there is a term called Adam Wujud. So, can we say that non-existence of a Wujud, it doesn't mean that it is not absolutely non-existent. So, it's a conceptual non-existence.
Okay, the question Ali asked, well, so the other people are here. Question Ali asked is related to this topic, that can we say Adam al-Wujud means the non-existence of Wujud is what, Ali?
It's a contextual.
Is a contextual issue, right?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I've told you about quiddity and Wujud, right? Do you remember quiddity? Mahiyat.
Yeah.
Everything you see in outside world, Nasser, everything, people, ashya, things, animals, plants, everything, has got an intellectual form, which is called mahiyat. Mahiyat or quiddity means the answer to the question of mahiyat. What does mahiyat mean in Arabic? Mahiyat means what is it?
What is it?
Mahiyat means what is it, right? In Arabic.
Did I say mahada?
So that's probably, this is first that is probably just. Mahiyat means what is it? What is it? The answer to the question of what is it is called mahiyat or quiddity. But this quiddity, I'll give you an example of quiddity and wujud, because everything has got a quiddity and a wujud existence. Yani, you can separate them. You can separate them in your mind. Of course, in outside world, quiddity and wujud are not separate, never. Whatever you see outside world, there is a wujud. Otherwise, if it didn't have any existence, how did it exist outside, right? So what happens, imagine you go into a room and the room is closed, the door is closed, and it's absolute darkness in that room. And there are few stuff in the room, furniture and whatever, fridge or whatever. And you don't see anything. When you go there, you don't see anything, but they do exist, right? So when you turn on the light, and the light beams on the objects, then you see them. This is the example of they are there, but nur is the wujud. That light, only when the lights of wujud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beams the lights of wujud to ashya, to the things from his knowledge, they come out and come to the external world. Otherwise, everything possible, every possible thing in the whole creation, from the day one, from azal to abad, exists in the knowledge of Allah, and they're all mahiyat, they're all quiddity. Only when Allah wants to bring them out, gives them wujud, and they come out to exist to outside world, right? So Adam, going to what you said, this wujud and Adam are separate. So when we say Adam al wujud, means it is in the form of quiddity and exists there. Only when it's given wujud, it comes to outside world. Correct? Do I make sense? I feel I'm talking a bit difficult, right? No?
A bit confused.
Bit confused.
Yeah. I mean, when Allah wants to give it wujud, then it comes out.
Yeah.
But is it not always there? Isn't it? I mean, is there different timing for different things?
No. See, everything is in the knowledge. As I said, I give this example about yourself. Astaghfirullah. Imagine you as a god, right? In your head, you think of making a table. That is in your knowledge only, right? That doesn't have wujud. Where is it? You don't find it, right? But then you go and you think what type of table, you give an image to it, right? You bring it down to alam misal, you give image. And then when you go and buy material, wood and nail and stuff to put it together, then you have given wujud to outside world, right? Similarly, objects, humans, animals, everything is in the knowledge of Allah. Until it comes out, it does not give in wujud. It doesn't have any wujud yet. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pass from this, and then also I discussed about how everything, as per Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Hadith Nafs that we have studied long ago, 10, 12 years ago, that says, when he talks about human soul, you remember about human soul, nafs natiqatul insaniya or something like that, that when it returns odal, you remember mujawara. Imam says when the nafs of insan, human soul, when returns to Allah, returns odul mujawara, la odul mumasaja. What does that mean? Od means returning, right? Mujawara means existing side by side to someone. It's called mujawer. Mujawer means the neighboring, next to each other. That's called mujawer. In fact, Imam is saying that when our nafs is returned to Allah, it doesn't go mumazaja, means it does not mix up with the main soul. When our individuality is kept, that's all it means. That means our individuality is kept. So our individuality, which is our soul, does exist in the field. We call it in quantum, it's called unified field. In the unified field, which is the universal consciousness. Remember, we have spoken about universal consciousness. Also, individual souls or energies exist. The whole world is energy. Even we are energy. Not only our soul is energy, our body is energy too, right? Probably you guys have done physics, you know better than me. So when we are living in this world and whatever we are doing, we are communicating with our source of energy, our own source of energy. If we do whatever we do, anything good, we are giving good energy to the field. And from the field, we are getting energy back. So we are all the time exchanging energy. So the personality you are making, that personality that during the life you are making is creating our energy personality, if you like. That energy that is kept there is being changed all the time, is being altered by our good deeds or bad deeds, our good deeds or bad deeds. And that good deed or bad deed is creating a DNA for you. A DNA, exactly a DNA. What does DNA have, Nasir? What does DNA hold? Information about us, right? All our information is in our DNA. So with the life and with the communication and exchanging of our thoughts, our deeds, our actions, we are sending information through to the source of our source of energy, and it comes back to us. If you do good things, have you felt that when you do good things, you have a good energy to do a better thing?
Like the law of attraction.
You can say it's law of attraction, yeah, that is. But the thing is, here is different from the law of attraction, because we are talking about yourself. You're not talking about somebody else. This is you.
Oh no, I mean what you receive, what you think. So you think positive thoughts.
That's in a different context. That's a different context. I'm only talking about what we do here. We are communicating our deeds, our thoughts, our understanding, our actions is being communicated to our energy source, which is our individual being, right? And we are changing it all the time. We are all the time changing that, and that is creating your DNA. And what happens? I read a hadith last week that the hadith is as from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, when we die, what happens to our body? Does it perish or everything perishes? Imam answers, yes, your bones perishes, your meat, which is our muscles and everything perishes. Everything perishes. Imam says, except one thing that never perishes. Whereas with the Shobhe al Makul, which we have talked about it long ago, we always thought, okay, what about it? Everything will perish and goes away, then what happens to the body? But that Imam says, not only that little thing does not perish, it will become. Imam, it's amazing. When I read that, I really shivered the first time when I saw this hadith. Says that will remain, and your next body will be made from this. That's very little zarra, right? Particle. This is a small particle. It's not visible by eyes. Because you know that when people are buried, and when after some time, 50 years, they go, there's nothing, probably a little bit of bones and things are there, and that after 200 years, that is gone. So no one can say there is anything in here. But that little thing is so small, which I call that DNA, which Imam Sadiq alayhi salam refers to, that that DNA there is being made from the energy that is your individual energy, which is building this DNA. And when the first Surah Israfil, you remember Surah Israfil, the first blowing into the horn, that every life will be finished on the earth, and we go to the material, we go to the barzakh, right? Imam says that DNA on the earth remains on the earth, and when it rains, there is hadith which says it rains. That is in a different hadith. Your body is being built from that DNA that we are making now. So it's amazing. We are making our DNA of barzakh. We are making our DNA of Qiyamah too. And when that second horn is blow is done into the horn, everyone goes from barzakh, everything removes from barzakh to Qiyamah. And that is when that body comes. When you say what that body comes, let me explain. What happens? You know the relationship of body to the soul. You all know? You know, per se, everyone thinks and everyone says the body contains the ruh, right? The soul. Whereas it is wrong. It's not like body is a container and there is ruh in it. It is not like that. What is it like? Anyone knows? Okay.
Who generates the body? Something like that.
No, that's different issue. You may be right or not. I'm saying, what is the relationship of now? Where is my ruh?
File and
No. Listen, the point number one, soul is not subject to place. We cannot say where is it. It's everywhere, right?
It's what one conscious being all the time.
It looks like, yeah, you can say it's a conscious, but is conscious or soul subject to place?
No.
Is it subject to
No.
right? And what happens? Soul is everywhere. Our soul can be, when we say everywhere, I mean it's not bound to, there is no place of subject of place about it. We all have what in our body, what we have on the bloodstream, or in all our body. In the bloodstream, there is a little steam, which is created. That little steam is created from the heat that the body has. That creates the little steam on inside the blood. That is called ruhe bukhari. That's material, basically. That is material. And that's the concept that Abu Sina, or Abu Ali Sina, that you all may know, he has introduced that concept. And interestingly, what happens today, I've read long ago that a dead body of the same person just after he dies, it weighs probably, I don't know, 20 grams, something like that. I don't remember how many grams, but very little weight difference is there. And that is that Ruh Bukhari, which leaves the body. What happens? The Ruh, our main soul, communicates with Ruh Bukhari. Yani, you cannot say it's anywhere. Wherever it is, whatever shape it might be, it is communicating, it's commanding the Ruh Bukhari. So when people die, you have heard that when people die, Ruh Bukhari, at first their feet start to cool down, right? That means Ruh Bukhari is sort of evaporating from there. It's coming up, and the last place it reaches is here, right? That's the last place. I remember my father, marhum, when passed away 2 years ago, I was by him when he was passing away. And I remember all his body gradually cooled down until his head was the last place. So, Ruh or so our soul is communicating with our ruh bukhari, with our esteemed soul. We have got an esteemed soul, if you like, and that is the way. And is I don't know what was there a question that I raised it, or what made me to say that. Anyway,
Yeah, you were saying the relationship
The
between
connection of body and
body and
yeah.
soul.
So that is the connection of the body and soul. So what I wanted, I was talking about. So that soul, which is our energy source, which is exactly what I was telling you. That is where we are communicating with all our deeds. That also creates our DNA. And DNA, when we die, we go from this world, right? Our next body is being made from that. And what is our Qiyamah body made of? This DNA has a lot. I tell you, this DNA of, because we have got two type of body from after here. One in Barzakh, one in Qiyamah. Who remembers what is body of Qiyamah made of mainly? Hassan. Ma'arif. It is in the hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Says when he talks about روح نفس ناطقه انسانی, a human soul, he says و فعله معارف الربانیه, yani its action is knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learning the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat. So we as human beings have got not only the ability. I'm going to the new topic that I was going to talk about today. That was a little bit more elaboration of the last week topic. So we human beings are manifesting the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything, remember, everything you see in outside world, everything is manifesting one or more names of Allah, and one or more attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like what does soil manifest? Which name of Allah is manifested by soil? Raziq. Yeah, soil is feeding everything. So Raziq means sustainer, right? So the sustenance of everyone, all of us, and the whole creatures is in the soil. Or who can give another example? Give another example of one attribute of Allah in outside world.
Like a rose or something?
What?
A rose?
A rose
Yeah.
is manifesting which name?
Just, you know,
Everything is
beautiful.
manifesting.
Khaliq.
Sorry?
Khaliq.
Rose?
No,
Rose can
just
be.
like
Beauty.
the creation.
No, rose is no.
Oh, Jamal.
Rose, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Jamal.
Awesome.
Mm.
Manifesting Jamal Abad, right? And so basically we are all, everything in outside world is manifesting the names of Allah. Let me see how much time we have. Human being is the only creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which supposedly can manifest all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is exactly why Allah created human being. And that when in that hadith, because Allah has angels, they are also manifesting Allah's name. They're manifesting the names, many names of Allah are in different angels. Then Masalan Israfil is one, has got Jibreel is the manifester of knowledge, correct? And Israfil is manifester of rest. Israel is manifester of this, yeah. So but the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human being, because he wants every name of all his name to be manifested in us. So human being is Isme Jami, the all-inclusive name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember, we are able and very able to manifest Allah's name in many much more stronger and powerful ways that the way that we are doing now, right? Normal ways of is, masalan, you have a company and you employ some people. You are manifesting the name of Raziq in that way, right? Or you create something, you make something yourself. You are manifesting the name of Khaliq, right? you show mercy to someone, you're manifesting the name of merciful of Allah, Rahim, Rahman, right? Or so these are all, but we are able to do much more than that. I tell you the story of one of the very great ulama. I can't remember his name, but during the Safavids, like 500 years ago, he was from Jebel Amil of Lebanon, where he was brought to Isfahan so that they can, because during, you know that during Safavid dynasty of Iran, Iran became Shia, and that was the first and only place which became officially Shia religion. And that person, is very.
Oriami?
Bahai.
Ah,
Sheikh Bahai.
Bahai, Ahsan, thank you very much. Yes, Sheikh Bahai, when he used to sit in masjid, because this one has got a big river, and there was a mosque beside the river, and he used to sit and correct the recitation of Surah Fatiha of people, so for the salat. And then an old lady came there, and Sheikh Bahai asked him, okay, read the Quran. He said, Bismillah ar-Rahim, Qayr al-Maghzuba balad zalim. And she couldn't read it very well. She was very old and elderly. And Sheikh Bahai said, what type of Quran is this? This is not correct. Your salat is not correct. And the woman said, no, your salat is not correct. Your Quran is not correct. She said, how come? Said, if you can read this Surah Fatiha and make the stream of the river stops, then you would know. Sheikh Bahai was in a situation there. He had to do it, and then he read, and he blew into the water. Nothing happened, and the woman read the Surah Fatiha with the same way that I said, and the river stopped. What happens? This is whether the story is right or wrong. I mean, you just made up. I mean, wrong means, but it looks to be a real story anyway, because they have said that after that, Sheikh Bahai became and studied Irfan with that lady for a few years after that. So that lady had become Asmaullah herself. That's how she could do it. So a human being has got the power of becoming Asmaullah. Yani what happens? You're all, what are we? Human, what are we? Human beings, what are we? We are a quality or mahiyya, and then wujud is given to us, and we are supposed to manifest Asmaullah. The whole reason we are created is to manifest the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And manifestation of Allah's name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that people reach to that level that you can manifest that name so that you can do things with it, right? This is a very low level that when we work and we employ some people, we become razik. If that real manifestation happens in our soul, we become like Nastajir, we become like God, right? We become like God, basically. It is clearly said when people go to Jannah, someone or some angels bring a letter to Mu'min and give him, and Allah says, from today you will be like me. If you say kun fayakun, if you say be, it will become. And so that power does exist in us. So becoming Ismullah is the job of the human being. But why can we not become Ismullah? Why? What is stopping us? What stops us from becoming? And you know that the story of this woman, that elderly lady, is not the only story. It's not. She was not the only person who can do things like that. There are, I have seen one of them. I have seen myself in my life when I was very young. I came across and I knew him. He was doing things not in front of me, but his children, his sons and children, had said things about him several times. It's a very amazing things that if as much as being in Iran and having been seen in Hajj, right? Whereas you might think that's a very big thing. Of course, it is a big thing in a way that you have to become Abdullah, really, and only an Abd of Allah can reach to that level. But even By quantum, you know that, what is it called? Superposition. What is superposition, Nasser? You can be in more than one place at the same time. Is it possible? Nasser doesn't believe me yet. I don't say that. Those things are all in. So what stops us from being able to manifest the name of Allah in that level are few things. I mean, there are many things, of course. I want to mention few things. Number one, say salawat.
Allahumma salli ala
No, what is this?
Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Number one, there is a verse in the Quran which Allah 7 times in first 7 sentences Allah swears. Let me read it quickly. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. By Shamsu wa Zuhaha, right? By the sun and his glorious splendor. Bal Qamar iza talaha, and the moon, right? Bal Nahar iza jallaha, and by the day when it shows up. Bal Layl iza yakhshaha, and by the night when it comes. Bal Sama'a wa ma banaha, and the skies and what hold them, right? Bal Arz wa ma tahaha, and earth and how it has sort of spread. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, by the soul and the proportion and order is given to it. 7 sources, and then says فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Yani alham comes from the word of ilham. What is ilham? Ilham means when you receive knowledge, right? Inspiration. Yani we inspired in him his fujur and taqwa. Fujur means all the bad things, bad attributes. So Allah is swearing in this verse, in this ayah of Quran, that I have made everyone knows. I have made you in such a way that everyone knows what are the bad things in him. So number one, you have to do, what is it? One, we have to find out what is that all those bad things inside us. Unless we know it, how can we fix it? We cannot fix it if we don't know it. So there are 3 states for Asmaullah to manifest in us. And Asmaullah, first of all, it manifests in the heart. You know that, right? Only at the end comes to your action. First, it is in the heart. And I don't know if some of you might have experienced that manifestation of Asmaullah. When it does tajalli in heart, it gives an amazing feeling. Sometimes you might have experienced that in Hajj or in Ziyarat, right? So Asmaullah, but the thing is, you do not know at that point what name of Allah was that, right? Sometimes when you read about Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam and his knowledge and how great he was, that comes and do tajalli in heart. So it starts in the heart. So what happens? First, you have to deal with your heart. There are 3 functions in the heart. So that it's being prepared for Asmaullah. One is, who knows? Tahliyah, tajliyah, tahliyah. These are the Arabic words of it. First is tajliyah. What is tajliyah? Tajliyah means abiding by the rules of Sharia, yani refraining from haram and doing wajib. That's tajliyah. Refraining from masiyah. Of course, we should not be surprised if we see that we are so much inclination towards, God forbid, bad people or towards doing bad stuff. So we should not be surprised because we are very weak in our tajliyah. After tajliyah is takhliyah, means empty. You have to empty the heart from all the bad deeds or bad things, right? Takhliyah means emptying. Everyone goes, all of us, me and you all, we have to go. If we really want to have a capability and qabiliyat so that we can receive Asmaullah, we have to take all those vices out of our heart, whether it's jealousy, whether it's what do you call lying, whether it's
Envy.
envying. Envying is not bad. Envying is positive jealousy.
Sorry.
or hypocrisy. There's so many bad vices that a human being can have, and we all have in different degrees. So is takhliya means discharging all of those from the heart, or discharging the heart from all of those things. So unless this takhliya is done, we can never receive Asmaullah in heart, because they say, Urafa say Allah has got ghayrat. You know what is the word of ghayrat? I think Farsi language people understand. Say, especially in men, for the men they use the word ghayrat.
We have Urdu also.
In Urdu as well, right? You all understand, right? Ghayrat. Do you have that word?
غيرة.
Ghayrat. Now you don't have it in the same context. Ghayrat means when a man, especially it's used for the man, a man does not like to see his wife talks to a gharibe, to ghayr. Ghayr means other, to other people, right? For no reason, right? That's called ghayrat. Men have ghayrat, women have jealousy. Okay? So they say, Urafa say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ghayrat. He does not allow his asma in the heart, which other stuff are there. If there is the love of material world in the heart, Allah says, no, your heart is forbidden for my attribute. So that's why we have to do takhliyah, we have to do tajliyah. Tajliyah was being abiding by the rules of God in terms of refraining from ma'siyat and haram and doing the wajibat. It's not very difficult. Wajibat, what is the wajibat? In few months it will be salat, is fasting, the 5 times salat, right? And if you afford going to Hajj, there are not much, and refraining from all the haram things. And then takhliyah, discharging it from all the bad vices, so that then third thing is tahliyah. What is tahliyah? Tahliyah means ornamenting, beautifying the heart. When you beautify the heart with what? With good deeds, with good behavior, become merciful. You start to gradually appear as Asma, the attributes of God in the heart. Be ornamented with good attitude, with good behavior, to be kind to people, to be caring with other people. These are all called tahliyah, means beautification of heart. So these are, because which one I look at myself, my heart is full of junks. Number 2, I'm not fully in tajliyah. My tajliyah is not in full command. And forget about beautification and tahliyah, which doesn't have any tahliyah. So if we can, and next week, inshallah, I talk more on this, suggesting the ways, what can we do so that these 3 things, we can easily do these 3 functions, so that inshallah we can prepare a place where Asmaullah is manifest in our heart. And if without not having done that, without doing that, basically we have not fulfilled our purpose of creation. We have been created for this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Any question? You had a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't you think we spend our whole life doing that? We never fully reach to. I feel like we spend our whole life trying to do those 3 things.
Oh, so what is your point? Are you asking? Or
Oh, no, I mean, do you think, I don't think a lot of humans get to that full potential. You spend your whole life doing it and maybe you reach close to it and then you die.
No, okay. Question is, is it not that the whole life we have to do to be on this, for this, doing this 3, and maybe even we do not get there to be able to manifest the heart with the Asmaullah, and we die before that? No, who says that? See, remember, this is the trip of the soul. This is not the trip of the body. Sometimes soul can go overnight. Overnight, you can do these things. But of course, sometimes you have to do a lot of work. It really depends. That's what I said. Next week, I tell you about how to do it. But the only thing I can I can tell now, it is not the trip of the body, it is the trip of soul, and the trip and the speed of the soul is way more than the speed of light. And it can be that quick. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. Few minutes for question until the azan is finished. If any question, please.